video because the application that I write with is crashing and has been for a couple of days. It started when I started using Kathleen Kane's name. For some reason, all of a sudden, I would be 2 words done or 1 character done from being completing the paragraph, and it would crash, and it doesn't save to the draft. But what I wanted to write about today, and be a little bit lengthy, is just number one. I know that not a whole lot of people, if anybody at all, listens to this, but it's not about that. It's about preserving this moment for myself later in life. And if I ever have children, or if I ever have friends or a support group in my life, I want to be able to say, on this date, I was in that cell, and this is what was happening. And it's very cathartic for me and therapeutic for me to write and use my voice, my First Amendment right to try to work out this injustice. And that's where it brings me to my attorney. My attorney, his name doesn't matter, but this man has been an assistant U.S. Prosecutor for the federal government. This man was a district attorney for 28 years. He was an assistant state attorney general, and this man has spent his entire life prosecuting people. In the past 15 to 13 years in criminal defense. And the reason that I bring this up is because why I chose him is because when I explained this story to him and what had happened to me, he was just kind of looking at me like, yeah, right. And I said, I know in a jailhouse full of red suits, that sounds a little, just being, everyone says, oh, they framed me, and oh, they did this, and they beat me up. Everyone in this place says that. Everyone does. To try to gain sympathy and try to get some type of edge on the law. But in my case, it actually happened. It is documented. And that's what I tried to explain to him, is that I have a transcript. That transcript of when my attorney was Casey White and the Stoker, James Stoker, under oath testimony, that is so crucial because he admits to an attempted murder. And my attorney looked at me, and he's met with me several times, and we like each other a lot. And he looked at me, you're telling me that there's a document, that there's a transcript of exactly what you're saying. And I said, yes. He says, and I quote, we tried to have a conversation with him, but he was pretty far gone. Now, as my attorney said to me, he said, if I didn't know you were talking about a police officer, that would be an admission of attempted murder. And he goes, you're telling me that there's a transcript of this? I said, yes, you can go right down to the county building and get it. My old attorney, Casey White, has a copy of it. I've posted it online. And it says a lot more than that. It describes how I was handcuffed behind my back, naked on my couch, and they were hitting me in soft spots. Now, the only soft spot when you're bent over naked is your backside. There were no soft spots. So they admit to a sexual assault and an attempted murder. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm going to go get that transcript, and I'm going to read that. And he's like, please tell me you're not bullshitting me, Mr. Thompson. I said, sir, I would never lie to you about anything, but especially something so heinous, because he turned and he looked at me and he goes, do you understand what you're accusing them of? I said, yes. And he goes, so they're denying that happened, even though you say there's a transcript of them admitting it. And I said, yes. He goes, okay, now I see why he tried to, put as much stuff on you as he possibly could. He feels that you're lying. I said, well, fact that this man is a former assistant U.S. prosecutor for the federal government, and that when he reads that transcript, and like he said, without even reading it, as me giving him the quotes from it, says that is attempted murder. I don't know exactly what the statute of limitations are to charge somebody with attempted murder, but I can tell you right now that's the strongest case, other besides the deviant sexual assault, because they admit to beating me to the point where I was unconscious, and then they gave no medical attention as I begged to go to the hospital, and I don't know for how long I was unconscious for. It could have been 2 minutes, it could have been 5 minutes, it could have been 10 minutes. I have absolutely no idea. All I know is that when I came to, I was mumbling to go to the hospital, and they refused me medical attention. There is no use of force report written. That's another thing he brought up. So even though they admit to using extreme violent force with you, there's no other documentation of a use of force report, because by law they have to write a use of force report to justify why they did that. But normally they only do that when you go to the hospital. Now I was thrown pretty much naked in my underwear, covered in black and blue marks, into an ice cold cell instead of being taken to the hospital. And I do believe that because of that, this is why I suffered such neurological damage, because I was not treated by the hospital right away after being beaten to an inch of my life. So I've been waking up every day, upset, but one thing that gives me hope is that he's going to read that transcript, and he might pass that on to somebody. He might say to a prosecutor, you need to look at this. Somebody needs to look at this, because that is the admission of attempted murder. And as he said to me, as my own attorney said to me, if that was anybody, if I wouldn't have known that this was a police officer and said that in court, that's a conviction. You understand? If anybody who wasn't wearing a badge said in court, I beat him until he was pretty far gone, you're going to prison for that. You understand? If you were to admit that under oath in the court of law, you're going to prison for attempted murder. But because this man is wearing a badge, somehow he gets away with it. So every day I pray and I hope that he's like a Kathleen Kane, that he is, someone that's going to stand up to these people and say, you know what, this is attempted murder, and I hope to compound that evidence by filing a civil suit when I leave here. Now my final court date is in April, so this case ends in April no matter what. Whether I come home or not, this case ends in April. But I will be coming home. These are relatively minor charges. And you also have to remember, this man tried to charge me with an attempted mass murder. It's like you label me, I label you. And I'm going to say all these things about you now. But that's not the way it works. That's not the way the truth works. That's the way cowards and bullies operate. So I hope that somebody takes the time to listen to this, because I know I will someday. But know that as I said before, Kathleen Kane, she's my hero. And the reason that she is my hero is because she saw a corrupt judicial system that was manipulating people and was doing some of the worst stuff to people, but at the same time pretending to be upstanding, law-abiding purveyors of the truth and the oath. And I know that she's not alone, and I know that there's other people like her. And I know that my attorney is a former colleague of the prosecuting attorney general in my case. So I hope that every single day, the other victims of police brutality, people that like Tyrone Nichols, who just got beat to death by 4 officers, afterwards. And so a lot of times I wonder, I wish I would have died. I wish I would have died, because then maybe I would have got justice. Maybe my mother would be on the news demanding justice from the FBI. Because when we called the FBI, we were ignored. So, I try to struggle through every day, and it's just me and my mom.